So today I'm going to talk about all the books that I plan on reading during the month of April, so stick around to see what they are. Well, hey there friends, my name is Roger, for those of you who are new around here, and welcome to Roger's Reads. So today I'm doing my April TBR, all the books that I'm reading during this month. I know I'm a couple of days late with it. As usual, time got away from me. So, on to the TBR. So the first book that I plan on reading this month is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. And this is the second book in the Villain series, with the first being Vicious, which I absolutely loved. So all I know about this is that it follows a new superpowered villain named Marcella Riggins, who gains control of her recently acquired power and plans to do whatever it takes to bring the city of Merit to its knees, including leveraging the two most infamous extraordinary humans against one another. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. Next up is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is another one of those books that's shortlisted for the SFF Awards. So this is a young adult sci-fi novel that follows a young woman named Spencer who has dreams of becoming a pilot. But because of her father, a pilot himself, who was killed years ago when he abruptly deserted his team, her chances of attending flight school are slim to none. But regardless, she is determined to fly, and an accidental discovery in a long-forgotten cavern might help her accomplish her goals. Oh, it's also worth mentioning that her planet has been under attack for decades now, and pilots are the world's only hope. And of course, one of my favorite authors, Brandon Sanderson. So the next up is a book entitled Normal People by Sally Rooney, and this is actually an advanced reader copy, an ebook. This was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize and the Women's Prize for Fiction this year, I do believe. So this follows Connell and Marianne, who pretend not to know each other at school. Because Connell, he's popular, star of the football team, whereas Marianne is kind of lonely and intensely private. But when Connell comes to pick his mother up from her job at Marianne's house, a connection grows between the two teenagers, though they're determined to conceal it. So a year later, they're both studying at a college in Dublin, and though they veer towards other people and possibilities, there's always something that seems to draw them back together. So then, as Marianne veers into self-destruction and Connell begins to search for meaning elsewhere, each of them has to decide just how far they're willing to go to save the other. So this, I have heard nothing but a high praise for this book. It's supposed to be an excellent novel about class, first love, and the complex entanglements of family and friendship. So I'm looking forward to delving into this one. Another e-arc that I'll be reading in April is entitled Keep This to Yourself by Tom Ryan. So this takes place in a small town called Camera Cove, and it takes place a year after the catalog killer had murdered 4 people in the quiet seaside town and then disappeared without a trace. So like everyone else in town, 18-year-old Mac Bell is trying to put that horrible slumber behind him, which isn't easy considering that his best friend Connor was the murderer's final victim. So Mac finds a cryptic message from Connor, and he ends up being drawn back into the search for the killer, who might not have been a random drifter after all. Sensing that someone is following his every move, Mac struggles to come to terms with his true feelings toward Connor while scrambling to uncover the truth. Sounds like a fun little thriller that I'm looking forward to. Another e-arc, yes, I'm playing catch-up with my arcs this month. Another one is, the next one is entitled Midnight at the Tuscany Hotel by James Markert. So, run by renowned sculptor Robert Gandy and his wife Magdalena, the Tuscany Hotel used to host guests of a certain kind, artists, actors, scientists, engineers, as a place where they could openly leave their worries behind so that they could create and work on their latest masterpieces. So surrounded by lore, the hotel is rumored to free the mind and inspire your artistic gifts. But tragic circumstances force Robert and his family to move away, and the hotel ends up abandoned. Much later, Vittorio Gandy, Robert's son, I believe it's his son, he's haunted by war memories. And once he returns home, he's horrified to discover that Robert, his father, has fallen from being a larger-than-life sculptor to a man whose mind has been taken over by Alzheimer's. So when Robert sneaks away in the night, Vittorio and a couple of others head to the hotel because they figure that that's the only place that Robert might remember, the now abandoned Tuscany Hotel. So when they arrive there and find Robert, they are amazed to discover that Robert's mind is now completely sound, his memories gone, no sign of Alzheimer's. So word gets out pretty quickly that drinking from the fountain at the hotel can restore memories of those suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's, and the rooms once again fill up with guests. But this time not with ours, but with people seeking to take control over their memories and lives. So this is a story about father and son, memories lost and found, artists and muses. So this sounds really intriguing and sounds like right up my alley. So I can't wait to read it this month. So another arc that I'm reading this month, although this is a physical copy, is entitled The Night Before, and this is written by Wendy Walker. So this is a thriller that follows a young woman named Laura, who's really never been all that lucky in love, always choosing the wrong man. She's still haunted by a tragedy that ended up defining her throughout her entire life, but now she's determined to take one more chance on love with a man that she met online on the internet at a dating site. Now her sister Rosie has spent most of her life worrying about her and has always been there to catch her when things got tough. So now Laura's return under mysterious circumstances has kind of cast a shadow on Rosie's peaceful life with her husband and young son, a shadow that grows considerably darker when Laura leaves the house on her blind date. So when Laura does not return the following morning, Rosie fears the worst. Laura's not responding to calls, not responding to texts, and she's left no information about the man that she was planning on meeting. So as Rosie begins a desperate search to find her sister, she's not really worried about what this man might have done to Laura, but rather what Laura may have done to him. So that sounds interesting. Looking forward to it. So the next book on my list is another ebook, another arc, and it's titled Prince of Air and Darkness by M.A. Grant. So this is a gay fantasy romance that follows Phineas Smith, the only human at Mather's School of Magic, who was born with the rare ability to tap into unlimited magic. Now because of this, he finds both fairy courts want his allegiance and will do anything to get it. What they don't realize, however, is that he can't so much as levitate a feather, much less defend the fairy realm as it enters into civil war. Then there's also the unseelie Prince Rourke Lynn, Phineas's roommate and arch nemesis, who is beautiful, brave, and a huge pain in Phineas's ass. Now there's been 6 months of sexual tension masquerading as mutual dislike between the two of them, but regardless, Rourke is also the only one able to help Finn tame his magic. So trusting Rourke's mysterious motives might be foolhardy, but not accepting his protection could be deadly. So caught in the middle of an impending war, Phineas and Rourke forge a dangerous alliance. And when the walls between them slowly begin to crumble, Phineas realizes that maybe Rourke isn't quite the monster he's imagined. But the growing intimacy threatens to expose a secret of some kind that could either turn the tide of the war or destroy them both. So this sounds like a fun little book. And I'm always on board for a gay fantasy. So next up is a book entitled The Cost of Living by Emily Lucadamo. So this follows a college student named Beck Murray who is sitting in a stranger's apartment and is reading his own obituary. He has no memory of how he died or how he happened to wake up and be here. All he knows is that he's been dead for 6 months and now, incredibly, he's not. So he worries that his biggest obstacle will be how to explain himself to his family and friends now that he's alive again. This proves not to be really the case, however, as one by one, Beck and his friends become the target of something evil. So there's this darkness that's hanging over Beck, following his every step in his new life. And he really can't fight it because he doesn't understand it. And soon Beck learns that he isn't the only person who's returned back to life from the dead and is not the only person who is in danger. So with the help of a young witch and a mysterious bookshop owner, Beck has to learn to overcome the evil plaguing him before it sucks him back down to the grave and takes everyone he cares about with it. So it sounds like a very intriguing urban fantasy. Next up is The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare. So this is a collection of 11 short stories illuminating the life of everyone's favorite warlock, Magnus Bane, the immortal mage from the Mortal Instruments series and the Infernal Devices series. So as I understand, 10 of these were originally released one by one as ebook shorts by Cassandra Clare, Maureen Johnson, and Sarah Rees Brennan. So this compilation presents all 10 of those together in print, including a special 11th tale. Supposedly there's several illustrations as well. So I wanted to read this before the first book in the new Magnus Bane series comes out, which I think is due out shortly. Next month, maybe this month even. So it gives me a good excuse to read this, and as I've been wanting to for quite some time. So the next book that I want to get through this month is entitled The Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. And I actually have this in audiobook format, so that's how I'm going to be consuming it. So this is the second book in the Strange the Dreamer series, the first of which I actually just completed in March. So this one I don't know anything about, except that it's a sequel to the first book. I actually haven't even read the blurb for this one because really I don't want to know anything about it at all. You know, I've been noticing lately how blurbs often contain major spoilers, which kind of piss me off. So I want to go into this book completely blind. Well, I'm not going in completely blind as I know the story and the world from the first book. Speaking of which, if you haven't read it, I highly recommend Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This actually might end up being one of my favorite books of 2019. And it's only April. Could happen. Next on my TBR is a book entitled City of Ghosts, and this is written by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab. So this is a middle grade book, I do believe, and is one of the SFF Awards finalists. So this story follows Cass, a young girl who almost drowned. And since then, she has the ability to see ghosts, to pierce the veil between life and death. In fact, her best friend is even a ghost. Then, things get even stranger when Cass's parents start hosting a television show about the world's most haunted places. And the family heads off to Edinburgh, Scotland, the city of ghosts. So when Cass meets a girl who shares her gift, she realizes how much she still has to learn about the veil and about herself. She also learns that the city of ghosts here is more dangerous than she ever could have imagined. So this is another one that I've been wanting to get through for the longest time. So thanks to the SFF Awards, I now have an excellent reason to do so. So the last two books on my list, which is number 12 and 13, is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Sheena McGuire and Beneath the Sugar Sky by Sheena McGuire. So these are books 2 and 3 in the Wayward Children series. And the first book is Every Heart a Doorway, which I mentioned during my March month-end wrap-up. So this whole series takes place at a school for children who have come back to this world after having slipped to alternate worlds, kind of like Narnia or Alice in Wonderland. So I really enjoyed the first book in this series, and I'm looking forward to reading these two books. Now the last book in the series, Beneath the Sugar Sky, Book 3, is another long-listed book for the SFF Awards. But I needed to read the first two books in the series before reading this one. And both of them are novellas coming in at about 160 pages each, so I should be able to get through them fairly quickly. So how about you? What are you planning on reading during the month of April? Let me know in the comments. So that is it for my April TBR. As always, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you click the like button below. And again, subscribe if you haven't. And then click the bell icon to receive notifications whenever I release new videos. So that's a wrap. I'll talk to you in the next video. Roger and out.